I'm up here on a roof in Shenzhen, China, and I'm just gonna try out my super simple web shooter build for the first time. So let's check it out. Most of my web shooter builds are mods of the toys that fire silly string, and they fire out vertically, just like the real Spider-Man's web shooter. Now the build I'm going to show you here fires out horizontally, and I know Spider-Man is pictured as being able to do that with his web shooters, but it's not usually how he chooses to fire his web. Having said that, this web shooter build is the best. Why? Because it's the cheapest, it's the most versatile, and it's super fun. Oh, my students are here. Hey guys.
Hi, Dash.
Yeah. Alright, so let's get into the build. Actually, this is like a super simple build. It's almost not even a build, and if I show it to you and you're like, what the hell, like, I didn't need you to show me that, well, I have to say, I've never seen anybody else doing this. If you think it's too simple, well, stick around for the end of the video, because I'm going to show you how to cosmetically modify this web shooter so it can be like the real Spider-Man's web shooters housed inside his costume. But right now, let's get into that build. Now, for this build, you're gonna need 1 can of silly string and some black or some red electrical tape. That's it. But if you want to make it more discreet or embed it in your costume, you're gonna need some silver paint and a spidey glove or a spidey suit that has a hole in the wrist or just an opening in the seam at the wrist. So that's where your nozzle is gonna come out and where the web is gonna fire from. Okay, let's get started. It might seem a bit basic to just customize the can aesthetically, just to make it look dark or match whatever color you want with your costume, and then seal it to your wrist. Might seem like a bit of a cop-out as a web shooter build. I mean, I guess it's not really a build, but having said that, this is so reliable. This works so well. And if you're ever having trouble with your other web shooter builds, then you know that you can put this on and just have some straight up fun. So good. So let's step back and just see how these babies are firing. And here you can see what I've done. I've embedded it into my sweater. Really reminds me of the classic Spider-Man, and even though it fires vertically instead of horizontally, I feel like that's something you sometimes see Spider-Man do, and it just works really well. It's easy, it's versatile, and it's fun. Damn, out of web fluid. Nothing worse. But one thing I like about this is the nozzle is really accessible, and rather than just holding silly string in the can, which is, you know, it's okay, I don't have anything against that, but this is really cool because it gives you that web shooter feel, and it allows you to make the Spider-Man hand sign when you're doing your web firing. Yeah, okay, perfect. So that's basically what my build looks like. It's not exactly super glamorous. When honestly, the hardest part about shooting Spidey stuff up here is getting down. Super simple. Just get the tape that matches your costume and tape it onto your costume. Now, this is not my method for concealing it in your costume, so I'm going to show you that right now. The nozzle is kind of apparent and white, and that's your trigger. So you want to have your Spider-Man web shooter looking like a bit of an advanced technology mechanism. What I would suggest for that is painting the cap silver. That takes away that white plastic appearance, and it looks like a silver little bit of tech coming out of your costume, just like the real Spider-Man's web shooter, except for, yeah, a little bit more bulky, I'll admit, but I'm really happy with this build, and this is what I've been using lately. Even though my other web shooters fire more like the real Spider-Man, and my whole mission is to have it so that you can fire any kind of silly string with them, at any time. This is the real way you can fire any kind of silly string at any time. You don't need a bunch of nozzles, you don't need a Dremel tool to modify it, and you don't need to test it and make sure it works. You can just buy the silly string, tape it onto your wrist, and you're ready to go. So let's look at how we're going to modify this to put it inside our Spidey costume. Looks like my water's ready. Woo. This is a pretty old Spidey glove from one of my costumes that had a removable glove. And what you're gonna have to do here is cut a hole, or just make a hole where the seam is on the wrist. And that is where the web shooter nozzle is gonna come out. Alright, so these gloves are a little tight for it, and if you really want a suit dedicated to having a pair of web shooters in it, you might want to have a little bit more room than your personal custom measurements on the wrist and the forearm. But anyway, let's pop the can in here and see how this works. So rather than trying to stick it all the way up through my costume, what I've done is make sure that the silly string nozzle is coming out here before I start to fit the suit over the can. Now, I don't know, I'm gonna try this without the tape. I might not actually even need the tape, considering how tight this glove is. Boom, there's my web shooter. That's it, it's a super simple build. You know, don't say I'm a jerk for showing it to you, because honestly, I've never seen other people doing this, and I've just had so much fun with it compared to my other web shooter build, which, granted, it's a lot more like Spider-Man's web shooter, but at the end of the day, it sucks having something that's not versatile and that you can just have instant fun with. And it's no fun having your web shooter jam up. Even though it's like the real Spider-Man's web shooter, it's just a bummer. What? These are exactly as bulky as a can of silly string. They're not that bulky at all considering the awesome effect they provide. And although it's a super simple build, it works just really well. So I used all black tape, considering that I have the Far From Home costume, but you can match it with whatever tape suits your costume best. Yeah, no, I need the tape. Now, I didn't bother to camouflage the can because it's not actually coming out from the costume. So basically, there's a good look at my web shooter build. Pretty simple. And I didn't even paint the nozzle, so that shows you what it looks like when you have the kind of crappy white nozzle sticking out there. I definitely prefer to paint it silver. I find it looks a lot more like a legit web shooter. Here we go. Yeah, I don't know. I know it's silly, but I just friggin' love this. Yeah. Perfect. Oh, it's so good. It's just so nice to be able to reliably make that Spider-Man hand signal and fire the web. Even though I know it would be nice if it came out vertically like this and that it's coming out horizontal, kind of like perpendicular to my body, but it's just so sweet to be able to fire web like that.
Alright guys, so let me know what you think of these web shooters. I know it's a super simple build, but they've been so much fun for me. So I hope you try them out, and I hope they help you have fun with your Spidey cosplay. Or, you know, just have fun with some cool web shooters.
Also, if you have your own ideas for Spider-Man web shooters or Spider-Man gadgets, just let me know in the comments far below. Once again, thanks so much for watching my super simple Spider-Man web shooter build. Make sure to subscribe and check out my other nerdy videos. Cheers.